Over the last 9 months to a year, this channel has been warning about something that was coming down the road that the vast majority of North Americans aren't prepared for. When the power goes out and the grid goes down and it doesn't come back up, priorities are going to change. People are going to change. People are going to start to see something about survival, that we have had this incredible luxury of being able to do it almost seemingly by ourselves. That's never been historically the case. Most people have had to work together in groups to survive and thrive. That's going to have to come back, necessarily. Too many people have broad brushed it and said, well, that's too close to socialism. We need more capitalism to save things. Well, we've seen what capitalism does. However, in this video, I would like to share a quick clip from Senator Ted Cruz, where he talks about his version of what he thinks the evils of socialism are, when he leaves out a huge chunk of history, trying to push his own agenda.
Both Cuba and Venezuela used to be prosperous countries until leftists came to power. Venezuela in 1950 was the fourth wealthiest country on the face of the earth. The United States was first, Switzerland was second, New Zealand was third, and Venezuela was number 4. Then socialist dictators came to power, including Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro.
He talks about 1950. Hugo Chavez wasn't even alive in 1950. Hugo Chavez didn't come to power until I was out of the military, and I wasn't even born until 1970. Hugo Chavez didn't come to power until 2002. All the financial collapse, all the crap that people saw on TV didn't really start until 2014 or 2015. What happened between 1950 and 2002? And more importantly, and I'll give you the link to this. This is from Senator Ted Cruz's own YouTube channel. He talks about how over the last 10, 15, 20 years, the vast majority of South America and Latin America has pushed away from the United States, from Washington, D.C. If capitalism was so fantastic and great for them, why would that be the case? He continues in that speech to talk about how we continue to send Colombia $500 million a year in aid. You would have to wonder if the U.S. had sent Venezuela $500 million a year and put both of these countries on the same footing financially, who would have turned out better? But that's an entirely different video. For North Americans, though, this is the part they don't ever get told. This was the president of Venezuela in 1950. His name was Romulo Betancourt. And he took the wealth of that nation and reinvested it in that nation. This is the president that took over after him, Rafael Caldera, who did basically the same thing. During those years, the 50s and 60s, big oil was handcuffed, and they were extremely limited, until finally they had to get in bed with the CIA and the U.S. government. And by the 80s and 90s, they had caused enough problems that they were back to juntas. They were back to military dictatorships. And of course, then they blame it on socialism when socialism had nothing to do with it. It was the U.S. desire for their oil. But in North America, we throw away food by the billions of tons every year. We don't even allow starving people or people that can't afford it to purchase it at low or no cost. You see, if it can't be sold at a profit, we just throw it away. Senator Ted Cruz talks about This idea of people picking through the trash in Venezuela, we don't even allow that. We take perfectly good food by the billions of tons and we throw it away, and we arrest people if they try to get their hands on it. Now tell me, which is worse? Which is more moral? There's a story out from Business Insider talking about this couple, and it's kind of a sob story about how they're living in their tent and they only have this beat up car. When you read through the story, though, you kind of get a different picture. Business Insider, of course, is trying to make it seem like it's Biden's fault. And Biden's not been doing a great job. But in this particular case, it's these people's fault. They're drug users, number one, and she quit a job because she didn't like the pressure of having to look presentable every day. It was too hard for her. And she had to give up her kid and take it to her ex-husband. This is another story for another day, but it's tied to it. People feeling sorry for themselves. This is from Bill Maher talking about obesity. How we have a whole lot of people out there complaining about not being able to find affordable housing or good jobs, but yet they still find money for drugs and to overeat. You see, in South America, it's very different. There are things that they do that we would call wildly immoral. Some people do. But it allows them to make enough money to keep a roof over their kids' heads. A lot of North Americans like to romanticize going and living out in the bush and tactically camping and being away from it all, not being part of the grid. It's romantic for a couple of weeks. But when you're forced to it and you still have to go work a job, which is more moral? The person that's living in their car or living in a tent, or the person that's maybe taking a part-time job doing something, well, a little seedy, but they can actually go into the grocery store and buy the groceries and put them in the fridge instead of watching the groceries just sit there and then get tossed in the dumpsters out back. Which is more moral? Allowing all that food to go to waste, or doing what's necessary to purchase it, capitalism confirmed? Or is there another way? You see, there was another way years ago. They figured it out. They had the same problem in Venezuela. They gave it away. They gave away the food. He said, look, you can try to make as much profit as you want, but at the end of the day, if they're starving people, they're going to get that food one way or the other. And if you don't want to make a whole bunch of extra, okay, that's fine, but run your business however you want to, but don't think for 1 minute that if there are starving people in your neighborhoods and in your cities, that the government's not going to step in and make you give that food away. This is what Senator Ted Cruz doesn't tell you about what goes on down here. A lot of North Americans look down their nose at the trade, so to speak, down there, the flesh trade. There's a lot of moms feeding a lot of kids rather than taking charity. Whereas up here, they watch us throw away dumpsters full of perfectly good food, and they look at North Americans and say, who are you to morally pontificate to us? You have starving people, you have homeless people, yet you throw away all that food because you can't earn a profit on it. But in South America, when women go out and try to earn the money to purchase it, you condemn them? It's something to think about. as to whether we were truly ever really that shining light on a hill, so to speak. Because it was that way for some, but not for a lot of others. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.